All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, part of the Blue Wire Network. It is late on a Thursday night, and we are live here at Imperial Pizza in South Buffalo, live from Imperial Series. I'm joined today by a good friend. First time we've done a podcast together in person, and it's that time of year, Sabers, prospects. My man, Kris Baker. What's going on, dude? How you doing?
Doing great. Full. So for those, it's too bad you didn't have the camera rolling when we were.
Oh my
absolutely. God. It was a murder scene, crime scene over at that table right there.
It really was.
Yeah.
We ate. Sorry. So let me set the scene before we started doing this show. And as we do from time to time here at Imperial Pizza, we had wings, and you're a wings guy, and you know I love wings. We didn't eat wings tonight. Like, we attacked them here, man.
I knew I was coming here.
Plus we were hungry.
I had an early lunch, so I was like ready to go. But I'm trying to like get in tight to the table so no one sees my belly right now, and
I'm used to
loosen the
I've
belt.
given up on that.
Yeah, but it's great to be here, man. I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun season ahead, and we're just getting into it, man. You know, I'm still kind of in like half. Like, I still have I'm halfway in. You know, I still have like a
summer
little
mode,
bit of summer mode.
Yeah, it's still summer mode.
I'm still dressing like it's summer.
It's nice out. So the plan was I've been doing these outside for most of the summer when we have them here, and we got a nice booth set up for the inside. And I came here all day long. I'm like, all right, so we're gonna go back inside. But when I got here, I was like, still nice out. I mean, it's getting a little bit chilly because it's after 8:00, but like, this is Buffalo, man. And when it's like this, you got to take advantage. You got to be outside when you can.
Still technically summer, I think, on the calendar too, isn't it? At least for like a few more hours.
What's it? Oh, that's ooh.
I think it's So it's like, no, I feel good, man. And we got to squeeze every ounce of summer out of the tube, man. So we're literally doing it right now.
Most people will be listening to this on Friday, so actually, technically, it will be fall then, right?
Well, happy fall, everyone. Happy fall.
Yeah, and again, for everybody who's watching this live on YouTube, we'll be watching this later on. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Kris and I are obviously going to be talking Buffalo Sabres. Training camp started today on Thursday. The Prospects Challenge was last week, which you called in the booth. We'll talk about that as well. Again, live here from Imperial Pizza. So I've done about, 15, maybe more of these shows live here at Imperial. And I always have different, like, kind of wing combinations. And last week I had Nate Gary here, and we had honey mustard barbecue charred, we had hot ciabatta charred, and we had medium lemon pepper. And I liked them so much last week. Of all the times I've had wings here, I rolled it back. I ran it back with Kris Baker. I had that's what we just had tonight before. Like I said, I know you're a wing guy. You've had wings at a lot of places. This is a really good spot, man, for wings. I'm a big fan of this place.
No, I was excited to try them and happy I did. Yeah. I especially like the honey mustard barbecue. I thought those were.
Yeah, I call those the Marcel Louis Jacques special,
those
man.
Were solid.
Yeah,
you should call them the Kris Baker special. I didn't leave Buffalo. I'm not abandoned in this town. No,
you're not a traitor.
No, not yet.
No, but like I said, it was funny because usually we come in here, shoot the shit a little bit, but we got right down to business tonight.
We did.
Just came in real hungry. But anyway, before we talk about the Sabres, and I've had you on the show many times, and a lot of people know what you do, and one of my favorite things about you, and it's always been one of my favorite things about you in this market, this media market, is what you do is unique to me. We live in a content space right now, and this is no disrespect to anybody out there, especially on the Bill side. There's some great content creators, and at the end of the day, there's a million Bills podcasts. And on the Sabres side, not as much, but it's getting there. It's growing.
Yes.
But it's kind of like the same thing with a little bit of different flavor. You know what I mean? Like, some people will break down Bills games, for an example, different ways, or talk about different things. But at the end of the day, it's kind of all the same. And it's just your preference of who you like and who you think does the best job. What you do is completely different. Nobody that I know, at least anyway, it covers prospects. Certainly not on your level, but just period. That's kind of how, at least in this market, at least in my eyes anyway, how you've kind of like cut your bones in this media market, focusing on prospects. Let me ask you this, like, what made you decide that that's what you want to do, as opposed to, say, talking about and focusing all your energy on, like, say, the Buffalo Sabres? For people, and by the way, most people already know this, but for people who don't, Kris focuses on Sabres prospects literally on Twitter. That's what your handle is, Sabres prospects, the blog. You've been doing it for a long time now, and you do it better than anyone else. But anyway, what made you decide that that's the avenue that you want to go?
I was always a draft nut as a little kid, young kid. So I grew up in a hockey family, played the sport. Had a brother that played at a very high level, played D1, was in the Olympic program, 16, 17. It was just kind of something. I was always in a rink. I think just amateur hockey, being infatuated with the draft as a kid, it was just kind of a natural progression.
Yeah.
To, when you get older and you still want to be into it, then you're on message boards and you're talking about it. And you're talking, you watch hockey, you're a Sabres fan of the NHL, but there's a story that's like needed to be told of players when they're 17, 18, 19. We don't see them in the NHL sometimes until they're 22, 23.
Yeah.
And it was an opportunity also. So that was really what it was. It was just the actual love and understanding, by the way. I always felt like I understood that level in hockey development. You're drafting players at 18. They change rapidly from their 18 until they arrive in the NHL. And knowing the leagues, I think having a background in the leagues and how they work and how they function, the history of those leagues, I think helped. But no, a lot of it was also opportunity. When I started doing the website, that was 2008.
It's funny you say that. We go back that far
man.
now. I remember the Ted Black era. Remember when the Sabres first started like getting into like alternative media and they started trying to form relationships with blogs. I remember they had, what was it, something summit.
They used to have a summit.
Yeah, summit. That's where we first met, though.
Yeah.
And that's going back.
I was telling someone today about that. Like, I'll always have time for Pat because like he's one of the OGs, man.
Yeah.
But no, it was opportunity. It was like covering prospects was just another like spoke in this wheel of hockey coverage in the town, and just started doing it just out of the love of it. It was a labor of love, and in many ways it still is. But along the way, it's just become, I've spent a lot of my hours doing it, and I enjoy doing it.
Talk about the growth of it, because it's gotten to levels now where I feel like people know you and they especially know your work. But what at the time in those early days, doing something that's completely different, it took a while for it to catch on to like the general Buffalo Sabres fan, not just a hardcore fan.
Yeah, I think Twitter helped. Social media helped with branding, no doubt about it. Being consistent with social media, I think helped. Engaging fans. Trying to not say no to a lot of things, a lot of opportunities. Don't say no, especially when you're young and you're starting out. You're not above any opportunity to talk to someone.
Right.
But I think also, there were things that the Sabres did themselves that put what I did under more of a spotlight, like when they were, angling for McDavid and Eichel in 2013 and 2014. That put a greater focus on what I was doing, regardless of how I felt about it.
Yeah.
I was doing regular work for the Sabres at the time. There was a lockout. The only hockey that was going on in that lockout was junior hockey, and the Sabres had prospects. That was, Grigorenko was playing in Quebec, and, all these guys. So, I mean, there were things that happened in the sport and also in the Sabres that also helped advance my work. Not the level of it, or not the, not the quality of it, but I think just the attention that it got, you know what I mean? And, no, but then from there, I stepped back also a little bit a couple of years ago. And then last year just kind of reemerged, refreshed. And I think that I'm better than ever now with what I do.
Yeah. I agree for sure. Watching games in players that nobody's ever heard of, and not even just like in this country, like literally all over the world. It's easy to be, let's say I'm new to becoming a Sabres fan right now. Just hypothetically, it's kind of easy to catch up with the team. There's so many outlets. But like I said, when it comes to prospects, and this is what I love about you. One of the things I love about you anyway, and you might be the only person I know who drinks wine with wings.
Dude, I don't care, man. I got no shame.
I love that.
I love wine, man.
I love
Well, you said I'm unique.
You are unique.
So I guess so might as well live it all the way down to the wine with wings.
Like just watching these games, and they're at all different times too. Like sometimes I'll see you on Twitter at 9:30 in the morning tweeting about some game going on in Sweden. You know what I mean? It's
great.
It's a big commitment, that's for sure.
Dude, for years though, the Sabres were only drafting guys in Canada and the States, and every Friday night and Saturday night, every player that they had was playing. Now they're drafting guys in Russia, Sweden, Finland, Czech Republic, and it's awesome because it spreads out the workload. And frankly, it's easier for me to kind of not have 15 guys playing on Friday and Saturday night. You get a some in the morning, it works really well for the schedule. I'm thankful. Keep, if the Sabres, like they're watching, but if you're watching, keep having European players. Keep
You'd be
drafting
surprised.
European players because I like it.
Let me tell you something, not to throw any shade at the Buffalo Sabres, because I'm pretty high on the Sabres right now, and I've been pretty vocal about this too, but maybe 2 or so years ago when they were playing really, really shitty consistently, and I'd have like Joe Yurden on or something, and I would be really negative on the Sabres. Let's just say I heard about
You'd
it.
heard about it. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, so I would hear about it, but you spoke of like taking a step back for a while
Yeah.
too, and now you feel like you're better than ever in your recharge. How important was that at that time? Because I kind of have felt that way at times, and I know a lot of other people who do content kind of feel that same way. You get a little bit burned, maybe at least verging on being burned out, and you kind of need to step back, but then you recharge.
I get burned out every year
Yeah.
in March, April. And then the draft comes and it kind of, drops a little bit of gasoline, so you take a little break then. But no, I think just going hard, at the height of it in like the, 2013, 2014, 2015, there was radio every week. There was a lot of TV stuff, which I didn't always enjoy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just like sitting in my house and doing what I was doing, you know what I mean? And kind of took me out of the comfort zone. But no, I think it just got to be too much. I had changes. I do have a job. I'm a director of sales for a large company, and it's responsible for a large book of business. That's taxing on its own. And I think just, buying a house, getting a dog, having other responsibilities besides sitting there watching stuff. I just wanted to pay attention to those things, which I thought were more important at the time. While still doing hockey stuff. It's just not at the same level and the same velocity every day, every week. So it was good to just kind of chill out. But you know what? When you give something up and you realize how much you like it and love it, and it's just part of your soul, then you have to get back in touch with it. And that's what happened really last year.
I never thought of it until you were just talking now. And then I'm like, oh yeah. All the times I've had you on the show, which has been, again, many times. This is the first time where I'm not going to hear any dogs barking. In fact, there's a guy, his kid, his name is PK. He's with an outlet called Buffalo Sports Collective. Nice little podcast. They focus mainly on Bandit stuff, but they do Bills and Sabres stuff as well. Anyway, I've been having him on my show a little bit here and there. And every time I have him on, at some point you'll hear his dogs, or you'll see him. And now we're doing video.
It's part of the deal, man.
You'll see his dogs. I'm like, yo, you're Chris Baker. You just got Baker.
Dude, my dog comes in on
your
my
show.
Shot all the time, and she sits there and stares at me, and that's when I know it's time to go, man. She's the boss.
Perfect transition, because that's what I wanted to ask you about next. It's one thing, you've been on you've done a lot of TV stuff. You've done a lot of radio stuff. Obviously, at the blog for a long time. Now you do have your own show that's available on YouTube called Prospect Avenue. You started that recently. And let me also say this too. I give you a lot of credit going back even like 2 years or so now. You were kind of like pushing me a little bit, like it's time to get on the video side, because for a long time, people were already jumping on video. I was like adamant that I don't want to do video. I just want to do audio, but you could just see where video is growing to. But anyway, I give you a lot of credit for that, because you really kind of nudge me in that direction going back a couple of years. But anyway, now you have your own show on video on YouTube as well. Talk about what made you want to start that.
I like talking about prospects. Number one, I like talking about the draft. I like talking about the Sabres. And it's just another outlet for me to sit down in the comfort of my home and just do something different. I always felt like, like when you're born now, you get like a baby blanket, a slap on the ass, and you get a podcast URL. I was like the last guy that didn't have a podcast forever. And it was time to, stop maybe doing everyone else's. No offense to you. I mean, I'm still going to do your podcast whenever you want me, but it was time to maybe stop doing everyone else's and start doing my own and have, creative control over my message a little bit more and mix in some other things. But no, Prospect Avenue, I'm trying to do it, once a week, once every week and a half, depending on my schedule. Be frequent, be regular, be consistent, and kind of bring what I've expressed on Twitter or other spots that I've done to my own show with regularity, build an audience, make it interactive. The goal is to go live every week, but right now I'm not. I'm going to still kind of pre-record. I have a strategy around that. But the idea is I want it to be interactive. I want to get my balls busted by fans. I want to bust balls back in return.
Yeah, that could be fun.
I want it to be, I want to answer chat, but it's also very hard to like drive, manage a chat, talk.
It is.
It's difficult. I got to figure that part out, but no, I'm excited to do it. It's just something different. It's like I said, it's the next part of the evolution of what I'm doing in this space.
Yeah, look, man, I've been doing these now for quite a while. The video side I'm talking, and it's hard enough sometimes doing them, whether you're doing them solo, whether you have a guest via StreamYard or Zoom or whatever, or especially when you're doing these live. I ain't gonna lie, people will send in comments and shit. I appreciate everybody who's watching.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this by myself at this point. I'm just not going to be able to get them. Not in this kind of setting. If it's home, it's a different story anyway. But how much, even if it's new to you doing your own podcast, again, you've done a million other shows as a guest, but just that comfort level you have, I could tell just by through your first couple episodes, the comfort level's there. And I'm sure a lot of it has to do with because of how much media that you've done, broadcasting, podcasting, all kinds of stuff like that.
I do a lot of speaking at my job too. My day
Yeah.
job as a leader in the organization, you're always in front of people and you're speaking. And I'm not the greatest at it, but I mean, you bring
But
a
you're
lot of that.
comfortable and
But you bring a
confident.
lot of that back to the thing that I love doing, which is this.
I feel like it's comfort and confidence. Even if you're comfortable and confident in yourself, that used to be my biggest thing, especially first audio side, then video. I just didn't feel comfortable and confident. Like, what are other people, or how many people are watching right now? What are they saying? What am I doing wrong? Then it just got to a point where, like, I treat this right now. There's lights on. This is a nice house, by the way, here at Imperial. It's a good crowd.
It's beauty.
To me, you and I are we got microphones and shit. But this is almost the same shit we'd be talking about when we were just smashing some wings
It's
here.
literally no different, except my hands don't have sauce all over them. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah. By the way, look, those lemon pepper medium, I can only have a couple of those, man. They're just too much. They're strong.
They were good though.
Oh, they were great,
good, man.
I'm not hot chivetta chard guy. That's
no,
my go-to now.
yeah.
But anyway,
I was dipping my finger in the sauce.
Every time I think of wings, I can't help it. I just start talking about them and kind of go off on the deep end.
But no, but to your point though about doing a podcast and just kind of being comfortable, just be like, and that's actually for anyone that's thinking about doing it. Just unapologetically be yourself.
Yeah.
And the audience that you're supposed to have will find you.
Yeah.
And they'll watch you. And it's not to get all philosophical or whatever, but that's life in general.
It is. Hockey is something that most people know you by. I know you well enough to know that you are also a huge with golf too. Like, golf is at worst. Let me ask you this: power rank your favorite sports. I know hockey's going to be one, and golf's going to be two.
Yeah.
Like, if I ever say, Kris, give me your top five. Like, what's your top five
to like
sports?
play, watch?
No, to watch, just to be
watch?
involved, to watch, to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, I like watching football. I like watching college hoops. I mean, that's no surprise. It's interesting. Like I like watching tennis.
Really?
I really do. Like, the majors. I'm not watching, some rando tournament, Rancho Cucamonga. No, I'm not. But I don't watch. Yeah. But I mean, I like watching tennis, especially now. Like, there's really great young talent in the sport. I like watching volleyball.
Really?
Yeah. I like fast sports. The Olympics. I tune into those every 4 years. And
Golf's the opposite of fast, though. Why you said you
Because I like playing, and I think I'm infatuated by the science of golf, the engineering of the clubs, the physics of, the club hitting the ground, and the ball going in the air, and all that shit. I mean, I'm into golf a lot. I'm into the betting.
Is that in recent years? Is that something that goes back a long time?
Goes back a while, but I think the older that I've gotten, and the more that I've afforded myself a lifestyle to golf a lot, I've gotten into it more on the professional side. What really got me in golf, surprisingly, I think, which might be surprising to a lot of people, is the strokes gained data for golf. I'm infatuated with. I think that golf stats are the most predictive of all sports analytics, because it's all players. You're measuring their individual stats. They're playing one ball each on the same course. They're playing against the course. If you know the grass type, if you know the course type, and the statistics that are unique to each of those courses, because it's a different course setup every week.
Yeah.
Then it's I think, like, I've been really hot on the betting trail.
I didn't want to
data.
say. I was like, Chris Baker's been known to throw down a puck or two on a golf event every now and then.
Yeah, and I'm not. That's not. I don't want to get into it, but it's fun. It's something great about having a sweat on a Sunday when you have a guy at the top of the leaderboard, and he's like, coming down 16, 17, 18, holding a one-shot lead with a pack of great players behind him. Man, it's a sweat, man.
There's a lot more drama in golf than I originally gave credit for. Like, when I was younger, I wasn't a big golf guy.
Yeah.
I became one, kind of like a lot of people. The Tiger Woods era kind of really got me into the sport a lot more. But yeah, it could get intense.
But you're right, though. It's a slower sport, and like one of the fastest sports is auto racing, and I'm not into it.
Right.
So you know what I mean? So I shouldn't like try to brand myself as like he's like a fast sports guy. I'm just saying, like, a lot of those, like, bang bang, I like that. But like baseball, I have a hard time watching baseball now. And I used to love baseball.
Did you grow up playing baseball?
Oh, yeah. I grew up playing baseball, played short, like a lot of athletes, you know what I mean? Like, if you're into it, played it. It just, I don't know, something happened to the sport where I just kind of found other things. And, I'll watch it during the playoffs every now and then, or at least follow it. But I'm not watching it like I used to as a kid, man. I was a Cubs fan.
I'm with you. In fact, I would say my life's gotten busier. Between, I also have a real job. I'm doing this podcast literally every day now, Monday through Friday. So I'm doing 5 shows a week. I work a part-time job 3 nights a week as well. And I have other hobbies and some form of social life. So you can't have time for everything. Something's got to be sacrificed. And for me, it's kind of been baseball.
Yeah.
I still play. I was a huge fantasy baseball guy, man. I don't even know half the teams that are doing good right now this year. I don't even know a lot of the all-star players. That's how much.
I'm interested in watching again now that they've apparently sped the games up. I mean, the last game that I was out at that's how long it's been since I've been to an MLB game. It was a 2010 NHL draft in LA, and we went and saw Yankees at Dodger Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Kershaw was pitching. It was a 4+ hour game, 9 innings, didn't go extra innings. I'm like, I don't have time for this, man.
No.
But it sounds like they sped it up, and I'd love going to a game, just hanging out and having a couple. I wouldn't drink wine. I might actually drink beer. But
you don't have a cold beer, too. You're not exclusively wine.
Yeah. This has been a wine summer for me, man.
It has.
Sauvignon Blanc, baby.
I'm not. So you were here about, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. It was like kind of like a guy's night out. It was Bakes. It was Tim Graham, Matthew Fairburn, and then John Vogel.
Vogel, yeah.
First time I see John Vogel in forever, man. Good to see that guy. But anyway, tying him on, man. Pounding out some hay burners for Tim, and
I drank a bottle of wine that night.
I drank after that wine.
Yeah, I drank a bottle that night.
You're gonna have to have wine. Back to baseball real quick. Then we're gonna get into the Sabers. I was living in Florida at the time when COVID was going on, and then Toronto played some games here. And I remember a lot of talk, and I understand why.
Yeah.
At the time, could Buffalo support a major league team? I never really felt that even then, and I think it's kind of been sort of proven since they came here. Nothing against this market. This is a great market with great fans, but Major League Baseball, I just don't think this city would be is built to have a Major League Baseball team.
I don't think so. And I think there's plenty of, it's not because of Yankees fans, Blue Jays, Guardians, I guess we call them now. I don't know if you've been out of the game that long. Cleveland's now the Guardians, in case you didn't know that.
I did know that. Not that attitude, by the way. Robbie Deb commented more golf betting talk.
Yeah, Robbie, I could definitely do that, man. Trust me.
No,
Sahith Thagala went off at 18-1 last week, Ravi, and we got a hit on that one. But no, I don't think they could. But I mean, maybe as far as sports that aren't here, I could see maybe basketball being supported, NBA. And I believe you're on record of saying that you would give up the Sabers to get an NBA team, which I think you're out of your mind. But,
you can swear
all the power to you. You know what I mean?
I would. I'm not going to lie. I know that's unpopular.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't. You wouldn't. I know you wouldn't. And I know most fans in this city wouldn't. I would.
Yeah.
I grew up a big basketball guy. I still am. Baseball, I wouldn't give up the Sabres for a Major League Baseball team, though.
Yeah.
But I would for basketball.
It'd be nice to have something to do in the summer, like sports-wise, but no, I'm not feeling it.
No, two pro teams here is enough. You know what I mean? Plus, and no disrespect to the Bandits and the Bisons as well. But for the Sabres Prospect Challenge was last week.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that like more specifically. But first, talk about your experience in the booth for this. It was three sets of games, right? And you were there with Razor and Dunleavy. Just talk about that experience over the past week. Just being able to be in the booth and do color. And you were telling me over wings here. It's hard. It's hard to do color. Sometimes it's certainly hard.
Yeah, no, it is. It's difficult. It's not the same as watching. Well, first of all, if you don't do it a lot, it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Because we watch games all the time with our buddies at a bar in your living room, and you're commenting on the game, but it's different.
Sure.
When the mics are hot and you have an audience kind of hanging on to what you're saying. I think that I've done color before for Time Warner, did Canisius games, Niagara games, RIT, things like that, Atlantic Hockey. And you have a replay monitor. You don't have the luxury there when you're doing it here. You know what I mean? It's very difficult. You have to really pay attention. The biggest thing I walked away from, I guess, a couple things. Number one, Razor is really, really good at what he does. He's very smart, especially that third game. I think he was like getting into preseason mode. The next broadcast he was going to do his first preseason game this Sunday in Washington, and he was on fire.
Yeah.
Razor's really, really, really good at what he does.
He's worked hard.
Yes, he has, and he's really improved at it. I don't think he was ever bad. Everyone in the media takes a beating from certain people, including Razor. He's not exempt from that. I'm not exempt. You're not exempt. Razor's awesome at what he does.
Right.
I think the other thing that I walked away from is just it's really cool just being afforded the opportunity to
That
call
is cool.
games with an NHL broadcast team. Man,
Yeah.
I mean, I did it over the summer with them. We did the 3-on-3 tournament for development camp, which was incredibly hard because it's up and down. And when you're doing color, especially with another color person, you have to find a spot to fit in your comment. When the play gets over the blue line, you should shut up, man. That's kind of the rule. And let Dan take over and describe the play and bring, words to the pictures. But it was just another example, though. I think the opportunity to do that with them was great. For like Rob and Dan, it's like, they're going to get ready to do, 5-6 preseason games, whatever it is. They're going to do 80 plus games.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're hopefully do a minimum of 16 playoff games. For them, it was just another game, probably. For me, I had the time of my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was really cool.
I would imagine, I've never done it, I wouldn't know, but I would imagine doing hockey color just generally, even if there is monitors, that it'd probably be harder to learn and do because of the action, as opposed to, say, football. Football, there's a lot of action, but there's a break 20 to 30 seconds in between every single play. There's a play, and then the color commentator, like Eric Wood, he's become really good at this over the last couple of years. By the way, Eric's going to be on this show pretty soon. Looking forward to having him back on. But anyway, Eric talked about that with me before. I've just got the comfort zone in learning the time in between plays to kind of develop. But hockey, it feels like it's much more bam, bam, bam on the go.
It is. But, it was nice having Razor there. A lot of times I would say something and it was almost for the purpose of teeing him up and he would complete the thought. I thought we worked really well together, especially Saturday. I walked away from Saturday just saying, I felt like we had a really good broadcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was a good game. It was a quality, the on-ice product that we were covering was really good. Monday night, the Sabres lost. It was a more difficult game. It was a more difficult game to call. And I told Dan, I said, man, if I don't have anything to say, I'm not going to say anything. You don't want dead air, but if you don't have something to say, don't say anything.
Right.
And it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes there's going to be 7-8 seconds where on the picture, there's going to be guys skating around. Dan's taking a breather and I'm taking a breather. And it's okay. And Razor apparently didn't have anything to say in those instances either. So I think it was the right call. But no, it was a good experience.
We are live here at Imperial Pizza on a Thursday night. Thank you to everybody. If you're watching this live or checking out the video on Friday or listening, of course, wherever podcasts are formed, I appreciate you all very much. I'm with Kris Baker, Sabres Prospects. Right before, just a few minutes ago, we were talking about, just your experience being in the booth. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I just had so much going on this past week. I really wasn't dialed in much at all to the Prospects Challenge, but it was something that I was looking forward to, and I know it definitely had some significance. Looking back now, talking about it on Thursday with training camp now started, what were like one or two of like your biggest takeaways from what you saw during the Prospects Challenge? And then I'll ask you about Matt Savoe, of course, getting hurt. That's big news. But what were some of your biggest takeaways?
So there's two that are not really like player specific. I think if the Sabres stylistically this season at the NHL level want to play like they did in the prospect tournament, they're going to play fast. The defensemen were getting the puck and they were just head up, scanning the ice, quick to move the puck up ice. And they have defensemen that are going to be very roving in nature. You saw the defensemen up in the play, supporting the offensive zone attack. They're not just both guys standing on the blue line. They're in the play. They're coming down beneath the face-off circles. They're jumping in. It wasn't just them playing, like thinking the game fast, playing fast, moving the puck fast. There wasn't a lot of side-to-side passing from the D. They were getting it up ice, and then they were joining the attack. That's one thing that really stood out to me. Number two is just the depth. And keep in mind, you don't see all of the prospects that the Sabres have. There's a lot of guys playing in Europe that don't come over. But the guys that they did have here was representative of the depth that they have at all the positions and the different roles. So the Sabres haven't been just drafting guys that are going to be all aspiring 25, 30 goal scorers. You have a guy like Tyson Kozak, who he was a late round draft pick, might have been one of the best players they had and consistently over the 3 games. That might be at best a third line centerman, maybe more reasonably a fourth line centerman. And they have these guys that are going to be very efficient, proficient at different roles. This like Kozak's going to be power, penalty kill, face-offs, and chipping a little bit of offense, but he's going to be really good at it.
Yeah.
You could tell. And that's important if you're looking to build a winner. You're not just developing guys who play in your top 6, and then you're like, oh, shit, I got to find out all these other guys to round out the lineup.
Yeah.
They're actually going to have prospects to bring up in those roles.
So you were impressed with the depth and like certain guys that you look down the road and like, these could be bottom 6 forwards or third line defensemen in this team,
depth and versatility. Yeah. You have guys you can confidently slot into important. I think they're all important roles. You know what I mean? It's not like when you play NHL on, PlayStation or Xbox and you just roll one line. You need 4 lines and you need 3 sets of D and you need that depth. And they seemingly have guys that are going to be really good in this.
How did Isaac Rosén look? I've read some stuff on him. Said he looked pretty good, and he almost gets lost in the sauce a little bit among some of the names, like with Savoe and Kulik now and Benson, the first round pick. Tell us a little about Rosén, what you saw from him.
He looks bigger. He looks faster. He just looks more confident. One of the things that you bring away from this event every year is the rookies, the guys that are there for the first time. You're expecting them to be a little nervous and you're expecting those nerves to show, but you're also at the same time expecting a guy that's been there and done that to look like he's been there and done that. He came in with confidence. That's how Rosén was this year. That's how Kulik was. So no, I think overall you have a really, I think, you want him to go back and be comfortably a 25 goal scorer in Rochester this year. That's kind of the objective for him.
Yeah.
And it looks like he has all the ability to do it this year. Fast, very good acceleration, but just more confident. He's not timid. And the thing I like about Rosén is I think he's going to be one of those versatile guys that his speed is going to be an asset on the penalty kill, which is going to get him on the ice more. He's not just going to be a power play guy. He's not going to be playing 5-on-5. You're going to be able to use him in more situations. So I thought he was fantastic on Friday and Saturday. He didn't play Monday.
Right. And Kulik didn't play Monday either, right? But Savoe did. And then he got hurt
for about a minute.
Seconds. Yeah, like in his first shift into the game. Talk about that, the injury and how that's going to impact him. And also for casual fans, again, because the minor leagues in hockey are different than other sports, and it can be a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
From what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, like if Savoe doesn't play with the Sabres, he can't play in Rochester. He's got to go to the WHL. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. So in short, I'll make this short. There's an agreement between the Canadian Junior League, the CHL, and the NHL. They call it the NHL-CHL agreement, where unless you have to have 4 years of junior seasons completed before you can play in the AHL if you're drafted out of the Canadian Hockey League, or you have to turn 20 by December 31st of the season being played. Matt Savoe is going to be 19 on December 31st this year. He turns 20 on January 1st. Okay?
Oh, are you kidding me?
He's NHL or CHL this year. He can't go to Rochester. So
what do you think of that rule?
I've always been a supporter of the rule, but I think, and I covered this on the last edition of Prospect Avenue. I got to get a plug in. Go back and, there's 5 minutes where I talk about it briefly. It's not just about Savoe. I think it's just, I think that a tweak to the rule would be for first rounders only. And in that second post-draft year when they're 19, give them an exception. I'm not for petitioning as one-offs where, every team's like, oh, this guy this year, maybe we'll go and we'll petition to get it done. No, I'm not for that. I'm not for one-off. Create a tweak, and it adds more juice to that first-round draft status for guys that are taken out of the CHL.
Sure,
kind of like being a first-rounder and getting that slotting in the option year, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it'd be cool. But I'm not. I've been a supporter of the rule because I like having the junior league stocked with good talent, and I don't think it hurts players, but at the same time, let's be more fair to the NHL teams that are developing these players that could use them, especially in a cap year. Getting guys up on entry-level contracts are important.
Talk about Savoe, like I said, what you saw from him pre-injury. And obviously, I saw it today. I think Kevin Adams said he would probably be out at least a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Like maybe all of training camp. I'm sure that's going to kill any chance. I think I read or heard he had aspirations at least. Oh, they all do, of making the roster, out of camp. That's clearly not going to happen now at this point, is it?
I think at Friday's game or Saturday's game, he was good in both games that he played before getting hurt. His speed is NHL ready. I think a guy like that, he's smallish. He has to get bigger and stronger. You have to expect that he's going to get knocked around a little bit, but he has that tenacity, that willingness to engage, and he gets up when he gets knocked down. He gets right back in the play. That's important. He's not timid. So he looked really good. I mean, he played with his line mate, Zach Benson. They were excellent together. They played off each other. They read each other well. Savoie scored some goals. He made some good defensive plays. If that play was any indication, he'd be right there in the mix for that job that is seemingly open until at least Jack Quinn comes back to health.
I want to talk about Jack Quinn because, that sucks. As a fan, I wish content creator, I could come up with something better to say. I'm just going to be a fan here. That shit sucks. Yeah. He's going to be out till around at least Christmas time.
3 months.
How big of a blow is that to this team right now?
It's a big blow because, he was a steady presence on that second line and expected to be there again in the top 6. He played on that line with Cousins and Peterka last year. They were excellent most nights. As a young line, they had some down nights. But that's one of the things where Jack Quinn just went home this summer. He had a full season of NHL. He knows what to expect, what it's going to take for him to become a 25, 30 goal scorer, be the next Dylan Cousins in production.
Yeah.
So, no, it's a huge blow because in terms of goal scoring, shooting skill, guys that can find soft spots and score goals, that's what Jack Quinn does. He scores goals. It's a blow to the team, but it's also an opportunity now.
I was going to ask you that. Who do you think who can fill? Who's most capable of filling that role that they're going to lose for the first couple months of the season, at least with Jack Quinn out?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, so everyone wants to talk about Yuri Kulik, which I will be happy to talk about. Everyone wants to talk about, I would say Lucas Rusek as a young player. He doesn't have to play in that second line where Quinn is, because like a guy that was on the line in the lineup last year that can move up and play. Say they keep the lines the same, and you're looking at a Cousins-Paterka duo, and who's going to fill that other wing? Why not Peyton Krebs, even though he played center last year?
Yeah,
Krebs is skilled. He got some more hard-nosed termination experience under his belt, playing with like Poso and Gergensons last year. Why not Peyton Krebs?
And they're deep at center compared to other years. They're much deeper at center.
Casey Middlestat's emergence last year gives them a ton of flexibility with what they do with all these guys. They have so many guys that can play center and play wing, and it doesn't, any guy can go up and down the wing, right?
Yeah.
So plug and play. But Victor Olofsson, if he comes in and has a match lid under his ass, he fits there too.
Kenny, let me ask you this. You've been around prospects. You know them better than anybody. You know hockey as good as anybody. At some point of your career, you are what you are.
Yeah.
Like, how much can he change? What could be different realistically? What could be different about Victor Olofsson, the good and the bad, as opposed to what we've seen the last couple of years? Like, what is it about him that could click, that he'll become a more complete player and not as streaky as he's been?
I think he has to move around the ice more. He has to win more battles and not just be a one-trick pony waiting for the puck to come to him.
Right.
He has to just show a little bit more in the corners and win some battles for himself, create more for himself. Don't wait, for someone to just feed you a puck and you use your amazing shot. That's not how it's going to work for him. Now, he's got a great skill. Guy can score a ton of goals. It's pretty nice.
It is.
Pretty nice skill to have. But
it seemed like a foregone conclusion near the end of last season that he was going to get moved. That's what I kept hearing and seeing. He was going to get traded. Didn't happen. And then Quinn gets hurt, which kind of makes it almost a lock.
Yeah.
Olofsson's here.
See, for those minutes that he would have to play with Dylan Cousins, I mean, Cousins is your clear-cut second-line center.
Sure, yeah,
They keep Tage as a centerman, right? Which they're going to. You have to be responsible, and you got to win those battles like we talked about. And I'm eager to see if he comes back with, he's learned. Maybe he's learned, and maybe he knows what he needs to do. Maybe he's willing to pay a price. We've seen guys change the way they play. We'll see if Victor Olofsson's one of those guys that can do it. But, I mean, am I hopeful? I want to see it to believe it.
Fair. So training camp started today. Let me read a couple of the lines. I wrote them down. Now, there were three different groups that are practicing together. Group 1, Group 2. I can't remember the colors. And then Group 3. The third group is pretty much people are guaranteed to not be on this roster on opening day. Then there's 1 and 2. Some interesting lines put together on the first day of practice.
Yeah.
And again, emphasize, it's the first day of training camp. Granato's going to be trying a lot of different things. You spoke about Middlestat being flexible. Granato specifically spoke about him during the press conferences after practice today, saying ideally he'd like Middlestat to stay at center, but he will play wing at some point. It's pretty much what Granato said.
Yeah.
But anyway, in this first group, the 4 lines, and I didn't write them all down, just the ones with players that probably will be up start the year. He had Skinner and Tage Thompson, of course, with Zach Benson.
Yep.
I would assume that's just to get the kid a look playing with,
I'll be real short on some of these comments. Zach Benson, to me, that's a reflection of the confidence that Zach Benson plays with.
Yeah.
And they're going to put him up there with the big boys and see if that confidence leads to execution. He's a really confident player, and he's skilled.
Good.
Very skilled.
Krebs centered Rusek and Murray,
Mhm.
and then Tyson Jost was centering Olofsson and Greenway. I guess the only thing I got out of that is it not a foregone conclusion that it's going to be Tage, Skinner, and Alex Tuck on that first line, or do you think there's a possibility they're going to screw around with that?
I would mess around with it a little bit in preseason, and obviously they are here in preseason, but as they get down, I would definitely mix and match a little bit. Cousins, like, first of all, Middlestat did a great job last year when Tage was hurt at the end of the year.
Yeah, he did,
and he was great with Tuck and Skinner.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Cousins was great with Tage for a little bit. I would mix and match because keep your opposition off balance a little bit, but. No, for me, though, also there's something to be said about having that steady Eddie, you know what I mean? Skinner and Tuck and Thompson. I expect him to go with that. Just kind of play with the other combinations, get the other combinations right first.
You know, I'm not going to do it, but I can have an entire conversation about how impressed I became with Casey Middlestat, kind of how much he won me over last year, because I was really down on him. I was ready to be done with him, and that was premature and stupid.
He's a beast on the boards, man.
Yeah,
he competes.
For sure.
He competes.
And then defensively, Stillman and Bryson, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Darlene, people were wondering like who he might pair with early on, or who Clifton might play with early on in camp, and
they got their answer.
Day one was right there. Darlene with Clifton. Make sense to you?
Yeah, I think you have to see if Clifton's the top four. I think he's got that club in the bag, because kind of like we talked about with some of these guys, he competes hard, man. Plays the game hard. Not the biggest guy, but he can skate. I like Clifton. I'm kind of curious to see how they function together. I mean, they're just getting to know each other, and they have a lot of work to do together.
Yeah,
you're not going to know what that duo is right away. It's going to take them some reps, and let's see where it goes. I hope they're patient. Let them work through some kinks together.
Group 2, Casey Middlestat centered Alex Tuck and Kulik. I thought that was interesting. Cousins was Paterka and Isaac Rosine. We talked about him earlier.
Yep.
Gerges's with Kozak and Weisbeck. And then defensively, Owen Power was with Yoki Haru, and Samuelson was with the other new guy, Eric Johnson.
Yeah, I kind of like that as like a shutdown pair. Those are guys that you're going to throw out there. Samuelson and Johnson, that is. Throw them out there on the PK together. Big guys, USA Hockey products. I love that. A lot of these guys are USA Hockey products, but I like that pair. I'm kind of intrigued by, everyone wants to hear who Power's going to play with and who Darlene's going to play with. I think that Samuelson Johnson pair is like sexy, man. Yeah, I love that. I like defense, man.
What do you make of Yoki Haru at this point?
Serviceable.
Yeah.
And that's kind of.
Do you want a serviceable guy playing with Owen Power, though? Is that good?
Well, Power's got to play a ton of minutes. So I think that they want to see, again, kind of like what we talked about, see if, just like we said with Clifton, see if Yoki Haru can thrive in that role and just keep his game simple. Because Power is a guy that roves around the ice, covers a lot of ground. He's all over the place. Yoki Haru just has to just hold down his position and play competent defensive hockey, and maybe it works. We'll see.
A couple more hockey things. Darren Drager, I have to bring this up, and a lot of people don't like that. I will say this, though. If there is one area where Pat Kane is going to be loved in Buffalo, you're sitting in it right now.
It would be Imperial Pizza.
You want to Imperial
brought the
Pizza.
cup here, man.
He grew up around here.
He brought the cup here.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He brought the cup here. There's the jerseys of a lot of players here, but there's multiple Pat Kane jerseys. So I better kind of whisper this. If there's going to be any King or slander, I better whisper it here in Imperial.
All right.
Might get my ass whooped at this place. But on a serious note, Darren Drager tweeted today on Thursday that he's continuing to rehab. He had hip surgery. He'll be out in at least another month. And the one team he specifically said in his tweet that has reported interest in Kane is the Sabres, the Buffalo Sabres. Goes without saying, the hometown kid, I get it to that extent, but I really don't think Kevin Adams or Terry Brigula really care about that shit. Did that surprise you to hear that the Sabres reportedly, according to Drager at least, have interest in Kane? Do you see, if he were to come here, like what kind of fit would he be? We kind of already got in a pretty good gauge of what the fan reaction is. Although if he became a Sabre, I think that would change pretty quick. What's your thoughts on that?
So I think the Sabres are looking at every option. They're having every conversation.
And they should,
they're,
right?
Yeah, they're in that position to have every conversation.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't like. Here's the thing. I think I didn't see this, by the way. This is the first I'm hearing about it, because I came right from work, walked the dogs, came and plowed
having a life,
plowed through Wings with you. I love it. And I bet you everyone hates it, because I think that there's this thought that he's going to get. We don't know what the money's going to be. It's all about the money. But like a guy that has that experience, has cups. It's not about the Buffalo. I don't care about the Buffalo thing. I think he's still a really good player.
Is he still a really good player? I'm not being sarcastic. I'm asking you, dead serious. I don't know.
Yeah, he's still a really good player.
He's still a good player.
So, I mean,
the post on Twitter today, and again, whatever, you know how Twitter is. It could be,
of course I do.
It can be useful, but it can be a big ass cesspool. We talk about that shit all the time. But the post on Twitter today was not favorable from fans towards Pat Kane coming here. Again, I really don't think Kevin Adams is looking at fans' tweets and saying, you know what? We don't want this guy
What's the
anymore.
money? What's the money? I mean, I think that matters.
What's his role? Let's just pretend, for the sake of discussion, Kris, that the Sabres are interested in, and he wants to be here. What's his role?
Well, first of all, the Sabres are going to have some injuries. I worry about some of these players on the forward ranks. I think, Alex Tuck isn't old by any means, but he's got a lot of wear and tear, man. Like, what happens if he goes down? Well, there's Kane's role. Okay.
Very true.
Good
point. Good point.
Just what are we talking about with, Cousins, like with Quinn being out? I mean, man, could you imagine Kane out there with like Cousins and Paterka. I think that'd be fun. But no, his role is kind of like, look at it with Eric Johnson coming into the team, a guy that's been there, done that. Is still one of the youngest, I think the youngest team in the NHL. His role is experience. His role is offense. And I trust me, I understand Twitter. I get it, and he had some bad press following him around for a long time. We're not going to talk about that, but it's like, I'm not just hockey, pure hockey.
Some people don't want to let that shit go, though. That's kind of the problem. And
the court of public opinion is the court of public opinion. That's fine. I'm not even commenting on it. I'm saying from a hockey standpoint, he's still a good player, and if the money's right, I think it'd be really exciting. He's still got some mileage left.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I say like I know that. I didn't know that. So I asked you.
He's kept himself out of trouble now. And I know it's an unpopular opinion. Trust me. I see the same people talking the same shit, citing the same stats when he was on a bad team in Chicago. And
he wouldn't come to Buffalo. The Sabres wouldn't sign him if he didn't want to be here, even if everything worked out. So the fact I think there's a part of him that maybe he'd love to come back home and play here and have whatever his role might be. I would do it.
I would do it, but I don't expect it to happen either. I don't expect it to happen.
I just thought it was interesting that was the one team that he specifically mentioned, because I guess he's working out and rehabbing in Toronto, and he mentioned the Sabres as the one team.
Look, I mean, again, Kevin Adams' job is to bring the right talent, the right experience, and the right personalities in the room. Kevin Adams knows Patrick Kane, and if he's making judgment on that and thinks it's a fit, he's made some really good moves for this team.
Mm-hmm.
He's built the team in a really, he's been very systematic, very thorough, very deliberate. He didn't overspend this year. I don't know. I think fans should be a little more open-minded to trusting Kevin Adams. If Kevin Adams thinks the player is the right fit for the situation, then trust him again here.
Yeah, and I think that comes a little bit with winning. What's different about the expectations are playoffs, and we hear about it. We heard about it a ton today. A lot of fans are feeling that. The players are feeling that, which they should, of course. What's different about this team right now as opposed to when Sam Reinhart and Jack Eichel and this guy, they had some nice young players, motorcycles flying by here on Abbott Road. But anyway, what's the difference right now between this team, the young players on this team, and the expectations as opposed to, say, a handful of years ago when it was Sam and it was Jack, and you had your young core, Kane was around, and there was a lot of expectations that obviously didn't work out.
Some of these young guys that they have now, I still consider Tage, he's not a spring chicken, but he's had success here as a young player, and he's moved on from this young, looking to prove himself, and now he's the man.
Kind of Josh Allen in a way.
That's important. I think that's important because you didn't really see that in the previous iterations of the Sabres team. It's just a really, again, they haven't overspent. They've put such a focus here on having the right personalities, mixing the right guys together in that room.
Yeah.
And it matters. People that's the other thing too. It's just like when you talk about Kane, it's predictable. People are going to say, well, it's predictable when you talk about culture. There's people that say culture doesn't matter. Well, actually it matters pretty much in every business. Yeah. I don't care. They put such a focus on the right guys here. And it sounds hokey sometimes with Kevin Adams, what it means to be a Saber. Well, he has an idea of the person and who they are and who he wants to he's hand selected all these guys. That's the biggest difference. It's not Evander Kane. It's not Ryan O'Reilly. All these guys came with warts. Robin Leonard came with some warts. These guys from the past, I don't see that here with any of these guys that they brought in right now. They've all brought him in at the right time as a young team. They were and I know the last thing I'll say is that they wanted to fit guys at the right age group and have them grow together. The biggest thing about this team this year is don't discount. I know they didn't go shopping for big talent this year in free agency or trades. Don't discount what another year of experience with the same group coming back and being that short of making the playoffs last year, what that means to this team, what it's going to mean.
You bring up a great point, culture. And there are a lot of fans who will say that culture doesn't mean shit. And to that I say, have you ever worked at a company as a job, in your regular job, if the culture is shit in your office? What happens in that office? Things don't go well. You don't have any teamwork and you're only looking out for yourself. You're not helping out anybody else. You're not growing together. It's like that in business. It's like that every day. So I don't know how anyone could say that culture doesn't matter and it's just talent. That's completely bullshit because it's not true.
Ryan O'Reilly said that he lost his love for the sport when he played in Buffalo. You know what he was saying? The culture's not good.
Yeah. Was he wrong?
No.
Right.
But now you have guys that love coming to the rink, and that matters. That does matter. And I'm not telling anyone they're wrong, and I'm not saying that you have to have a good culture to win. No, but it helps.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of teams that were a mess. You know, what's it? The '86 Mets were a mess. One of the best.
That was my dad's favorite team.
I love that team. You know, that's from when I watched baseball, right?
Yeah.
But they were a mess, but they were awesome. You know, so it's not like a prerequisite. But it helps.
Sure.
Helps.
Let me backtrack real quick before we wrap up here. Somebody said in a comment, Juice81, going back to developmental camp, he wants to ask you who stood out at developmental camp. Who was like your top 3 guys who stood out at camp?
You know, the obvious ones to me. So Isak Roseanne, I thought was great. I thought Savoe before he got here, but I want to pick on those guys because I think everyone knows those guys.
Sure, that's low hanging fruit.
I think Tyson Kozak was excellent.
Yeah,
I texted Matt Fairburn twice after 2 of those 3 games. I said, Kozak, beast. And he was under the tutelage of Michael Pekka last year as a professional rookie, and it shows.
Yeah.
Okay. Kozak's a beast. I thought he was excellent. I thought Ryan Johnson was really good. Skating. When I was describing to you earlier how the Sabres were very fast moving the puck, like getting it, scanning, getting it off their stick and moving the puck. In my head, I was envisioning Ryan Johnson spark and transition. So, you know, he comes into Buffalo at Rochester this year, first professional year of 4 years of college. He's a polished product, but he stood out. Who else? I would say, I mean, I have to go back, I think, to Roseanne just because I thought he was that good, that dominant, especially that first game. You know, like Nadeau did some good things. I'm just trying to go through, my mental Rolodex real quick.
Yeah.
Like Nochev had some good moments, but the guy that keeps coming up besides Kozak and besides Ryan Johnson, Novikov was fun. Oh, actually, the other one for me, and again, he's an older guy, Zach Metza. I talked about him a lot on the broadcast. He's a right shot defenseman. He's not very big, but he's one of those guys that you talk about positionless hockey. He's the poster child for it. He's always up at the edge of the crease as a defenseman, in the offensive zone. Okay. He doesn't have an NHL contract. I don't know. There's not a lot of room for him either, though. Even though he's a right shot D and you could use him, I thought he was great.
Yeah.
I thought he was great. Like a guy I brought up to Razor. I said, Razor, what do you think with this guy? Like, this could be a compelling storyline in training camp. Could he get an NHL contract? Meanwhile, he's going to be fighting for playing time at the same time in Rochester because they're so stacked with defensemen.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how that works, but I thought he was really good.
By the way, so we were talking about it was so nice out earlier, it's still summer. I think in the middle of this podcast, this is one single episode. I feel like it went from summer to fall in one chat because it's starting to get a little bit chilly.
Well, it's because you're not drinking wine, man. Wine, it warms the soul. I need to. Joe Boo needs a refill.
We definitely better start winding down now. Then Chris Baker's out of wine here. Are you a little surprised that neither, and we're going near the end of September, we're in a training camp now, that neither Rasmus Dahlin or Owen Power have signed new deals, especially Dahlin, because it was widely assumed, if not reported, that summer that deal was pretty much, it was done. It was just a formality. But here we are, and it's not done yet. It probably still will be, but
I think Dahlin will get done. I'm surprised that it's not done, but I expect it to get done soon. I'm not surprised that Owen Power's not done because I know that everyone, there's a big slant, like when you listen to sports media. I'm not saying this negatively. I just think everyone thinks that they're going to have him under a long-term deal. And I don't know why Owen Power's agent would sign a long-term deal right now.
Right.
He shouldn't. He should sign a short-term deal. I think. Wait to see where the market goes, cap goes up, all that stuff, because he's going to be a $10-11 million defenseman at some point in his career. So why would you lock yourself in now, making $9.5 or whatever the hell the number is? So I'm not surprised that Power's not done. I'm a little surprised that Dahlin's not done, but I expect it. Give it a week or two.
Last Sabres thing going into the season. I want to get what your realistic ceiling. Obviously, the ceiling would be winning the Stanley Cup. Most teams would feel that way. But what's your realistic ceiling right now from what fans can see from the Buffalo Sabres this season? I
think they're a playoff team. I think so. First of all, I think Devin Levi is going to have very few. Is this wood? Like, I think Devin Levi is going to have very few lulls. Like, he's going to have some bad nights, but they're going to be few and far between. I don't think you're going to see these rapid, like these wild peaks and valleys with his game. I think he's got special mental mindset. I just think he has it. I'm not saying, and I think he'll be in that Calder. I think that Bedard's going to win. Okay, but he'll be in that discussion because he's going to be that, I think, special of a goaltender this year. I think he's going to be good. And goaltending changes the whole outlook of your team.
Of course.
So
definitely.
I think they're going to be competitive by virtue of that. I think, again, keeping guys healthy. So what's the ceiling? Could they be a 100-point team? Yeah. Are they a playoff team? Absolutely. And I think that Detroit got better. I think Ottawa got better. And look, it's so unpredictable, man.
Oh God.
No one saw Boston having a record-setting year last year, and
right.
they were amazing. And who knows? Everyone's thinking Boston's going to go backwards this year. I don't know. I can't make that guarantee.
The only, whether it's Buffalo or whoever, when a team moves up, that means somebody's got to be out. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's like, the Sabres are playoff. They could be very much playoff caliber, but then now you're taking a team who makes the playoffs last year that's out this year. And that's assuming the Sabres are the only team that's out that's in this year. So
I think they're in.
I
think they're in. Like, look, is 100 points aggressive? It's a big number, but I think it's attainable. Am I guaranteeing it? Of course not.
Right.
I'm not making that guarantee. But I think that they have the feel of a 100-point team if they stay healthy. Samuelsson, stay healthy. Because everything comes together when Samuelsson stays healthy, to me.
Yeah.
I just think that the pairs
He's
are better
low-key one of the
balanced.
most important players on this team.
I think so. I mean, it's no coincidence that they started hitting losing skids when he got hurt last year.
Mm-hmm.
But what's funny is that when you look at his numbers, his underlying statistics, it doesn't suggest that he's always a great force, his pair. And I don't know. He just brings it all together.
Yeah, I get it. I'd probably let you go. I mean, everyone knows you for hockey, obviously, but you talked about it in one of the sports. You enjoy it. You're a football guy. I could have sat here and talked Bills with you probably for, a full hour. We're 2 games in, going into game 3 this week. What's your thoughts and your impressions on this team? What are you seeing from them that you like, that's sustainable? And what's your biggest concerns right now early in the season? Legitimate concerns.
I'm not going to lie. All right. So I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you. I listened to the game on Sunday. I didn't watch it because I had a day off. We worked Friday, Saturday, and a game Monday. I laid in the hammock with a beautiful young lady.
Get it in, man. Get it in.
Just laid in the hammock, relaxed. We had a great day, man.
Yeah.
We had a whole day. Went to 5 Points. I was telling you about the butter block. You got to get down there, dude.
That's on the west side.
Yeah, west side, 5 Points.
Went
to 5 Points Bakery, had a beautiful breakfast, went to Trader Joe's, and we laid in the hammock all day. It was perfect. Listen to the game a little bit.
That does sound perfect.
Until she reached over and shut it down. She's like,
enough of that.
No, but my concerns this year were just, consistency at the quarterback position. I was nervous with the first game, man. Josh Allen, brutal. But I'm looking at it positive. Get it out of the way now.
Yeah.
Get it out of the way now.
Jets are his kryptonite too. He just never plays good against the Jets.
Offensive line play, have they held up for the second game?
I thought they played excellent against the Raiders.
Okay.
I thought they were excellent against the Raiders. They schemed Max Crosby really well. Max Crosby was not a factor. So Spencer Brown did really good, but it wasn't just Spencer Brown.
I like football, by the way, and I understand the game. Okay. I believe it's one in the trenches, right? But I see Twitter all the time. The hardcore people are so upset about Kaiir Elam. What if he's like we talk about Yoki Hari? What if he ends up just being useful? Is it okay? Or is it a miserable? Everyone, he's either a starter or you cut him.
Well,
in his second year,
I wouldn't compare him to Yoki Haru. I would compare him to. Let's pretend Stillman was a really high prospect, but can't get in the game. He's watching the games in the press box.
Yeah,
because the Bills are 2 games in now, and
he didn't play Sunday, right?
He was inactive, so he hasn't been active.
I mean, I get that. Then it's cause for alarm. But even through training camp, it was just I don't know. I cover prospects, right? So it's they're. You're giving them a chance.
Well, then you would understand this analogy more. It's say a much more coveted prospect the Sabres signed was a higher pick.
Yeah.
And then you go watch them play at developmental camp, and then a guy who's
we just went through with Middlestat.
Exactly. He's just getting outplayed. Christian Benford he's just flat out outplayed.
And he was what, a 6th rounder?
6th rounder. Yeah. So anyway.
No, I'm excited for James Cook. Yeah. I think that he
looked really good.
I think
Sunday. He had that juice in the second half. You could see it, man. He looked like his brother.
I'm excited for, Latavius Murray. I know he had a touchdown. I'm excited for the running backs. Yeah. I think we talked about versatility in different roles. Got a pass catcher and Cook. You got 2 guys that can pound it.
I'm a little bit concerned about this game on Sunday. A little bit.
Commanders aren't a joke.
Exactly. They're not a joke. Now they beat 2 scrubby teams, but they're still 2-0, but it's their front 4 of their defense. They're really good. Chase Young's great. And the Jets, that's how they kind of beat up on the Bills. They dominate with that front 4. Now the back 7 for Washington is nowhere near as good as the Jets. So
Yeah.
that's where I think that there's a big difference. But anyway, last point, Josh Allen, to his credit, he went out and he sucked against the Jets. He was just fucking terrible. But he comes back and he wins AFC Offensive Player of the Week the very next week. So I guess that's one way to redeem yourself, kind of get that confidence back a little bit.
It was great, though. He was basically like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Right? And that's how it should be.
Yeah. And
that's how it should be. And that's the right answer, even though, he's probably excited, like a little bit, right? Like a redemption after coming off the week he had. No, that Jets game, though, just last thing for you on that. Allen played poorly. Some of the play calls were just, to me, as a, I've watched football my whole life, but I don't get into it like half you guys do. Some of those play calls were just
they weren't
sketchy.
Good. They ran a ball in 2nd and 15 in overtime. I was ready to smash.
What do you think that fourth down play early in the game? Like as soon as Rodgers just got hurt, they got the ball back.
Yeah.
I know it was 4th and 2.
Yeah.
And then by the way, didn't they go for one last week?
Yeah.
Similar spot in the game.
Yeah.
So why didn't they do that? Because I think that could have changed the game around a little bit against the Jets.
They could have. Yeah, play calls were definitely not his strength. But for me, Josh Allen, throw the numbers out and the mistakes. Josh Allen looked like he was suffering through that game. He looked like he didn't want to. He wanted to be there, but he wasn't having fun. And I know that sounds corny. Sports is fun. It's a game. And Sunday against the Raiders, he was just lively again. He was energetic. He was the body language, the enthusiasm. When he was playing against the Jets, he was there on the bench sulking. It was almost in his mind. You could look at his eyes and be like, he's thinking, here we fucking go again.
That Jets D's tough, though, man.
Yeah,
They're
sure.
tough. So, I mean, you have to kind of give it to them, too. But Josh Allen, if he's as good as everyone says that he is, he's got to find ways to eliminate some of those throws and win that game.
And it's only one game, but
Zach Wilson, man, you can't lose to that kid.
But on Sunday, Josh really stuck to it. He stuck and he took what they gave him. But mostly, like I said, he would just look like he was having fun, and that's important to me.
Yeah.
And on that note, by the way, this was fun. We're going to wind it down here live from Imperial Pizza. One more time, 1035 Abbott Road. I mentioned this on the show with Nate Gary last week. A new Imperial location coming soon. If you live near the Canisius College area on Main Street, you're in luck because a new Imperial's coming there. I think early November it's going to open. But anyway, make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out Prospects Avenue. Chris Baker at Sabres Prospects on Twitter. Thanks, buddy. This was fun, man. We'll go get you one more. I'm going to have a beer now.
Yeah. A little Sauv Blanc, baby. I love saying it, too. Hey, by the way, thanks for setting the camera up here so people can't see my belly.
Are you kidding me right now?
They're probably seeing my glass cutters here since it got a little chilly, but that's all good, man. Hey, pleasure, dude.
No, this was fun. This was fun. All right, guys, I will talk to you. Enjoy the weekend. We'll be back actually Sunday night after the Bills game. Talk to you then.